We'll be back in a second. All right, following some minor technical difficulties and a depressing loss for my Hoosiers, as you can tell, of course, who I was supporting today, we're live to talk about the biggest severe weather risk so far of the season for a good part of the Midwest and into the Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley as well. This is the latest outlook, guys, in terms of severe weather threats. You can see the scale here in the bottom left highlighting on a scale of 1 to 5 what we're looking at, and right now still a moderate risk for severe weather. That's a scale of 4, or it's 4 on a scale of 5, guys. And I still think that this area in particular, wind is probably the biggest threat that we need to be on the lookout for. This is a very, very intense storm system, a very powerful storm system that has some extreme wind energy with it. And so I'm concerned about a damaging line of storms developing in eastern Missouri as we work into late tomorrow evening and into tomorrow night, bringing probably a notable swath of damaging winds across eastern Missouri, into Illinois, southeast Iowa, western Kentucky. It will be weakening as it works towards our area here in central Indiana, but we'll still need to be on the lookout overnight Friday for some damaging wind gusts being possible, but I think it's probably in a more scattered fashion, guys. And so this is threat number 1. This is day number 1 as we get into tomorrow. The second threat's going to pick up as we work into Saturday. This is the secondary threat. Now, as this front pushes off to the east, we'll see a lull into the late overnight hours on Friday, and then redevelopment of a line as we work into Saturday afternoon. Based off of the setup that we're seeing right now, we think that the highest risk is this moderate risk area down here across the deep south. Now, I'm more concerned about tornado risk in this region on Saturday than I am with the moderate risk tomorrow. Now, we'll still need to watch for damaging wind gusts, maybe an isolated tornado, guys, across the Ohio Valley, across the Tennessee Valley, in the slight and enhanced risk area as we go into Saturday afternoon and into Saturday evening. Probably some heavy rain in some of these areas as well. So the good news for central Indiana is that I think that we're kind of between the worst of this storm. Because of when it comes through. The line comes through overnight Friday, we lose some of our daytime instability, and ultimately it helps in terms of limiting some of the more notable storm potential. Don't let your guard down. Definitely have, if you have the Clarity platform, be sure to have your alerts on as we go into Friday night, because the line of storms will be arriving overnight. We'll talk about that here in a second. But I do think for us here in central Indiana, at least a piece of good news is that we're kind of between the worst phases of this storm Friday and into Saturday, guys. And so again, this is tomorrow. Here's a more zoomed in look. This area here in red is where I'm most concerned about the potential for 70 to potentially 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts, guys. This is, again, a very, very strong storm. This has the potential to set records in terms of the pressure in the upper Midwest. It's a sub 980 low pressure system, guys. It's rare for this time of the year, and ultimately it will lead to the potential for some strong winds. And I think specifically 70 to 80 mile per hour winds with a squall line that moves through late tomorrow. And it goes without saying that 70 to 80 mile per hour winds can cause some pretty extensive damage. And so we've teamed up with CenterPoint Energy to highlight the 811 dig safety project here to promote safe digging. You know, when there's wind damage like this, guys, it can create damage to fences and other structures, and you may want to go out and try to fix those. But we highly encourage everyone to be safe, to call 811, and to avoid making a bad situation worse, and use that free 811 service. And it's all about safety. At BAM Weather, you know, we try to keep everyone safe all the time, and we want to make sure that people are safe, not only during the storm, but after the storm as well. I'm the first one to admit, after the storm is over, I'm the first one to go out and try to start fixing stuff, but we need to be safe about it. And so with that being said, let's get into the forecast, guys. And I'm going to step over here and kind of go hour by hour in terms of the threat as we go into tomorrow. And so, guys, throughout most of the day tomorrow, certainly not worth canceling any plans, because this is all the way into, you know, 5, 6 o'clock tomorrow evening. The line of storms is going to be way back to the west at this time, out in western Missouri and in southern parts of Iowa. And so you can see here, most of the day tomorrow going to be clear. It'll be windy. It's going to be breezy as this low pressure system begins to develop. But all things considered, most of the day tomorrow is not half bad. But it's as we work, especially towards about 6, 7, 8 o'clock across central parts of Missouri and southern Iowa, that this line really begins to get its act together. And you can almost see the bowing nature of this. Note how it's kind of curved here. That's highly indicative of a damaging swath of winds as this pushes further off to the east. Now, what I want to draw your attention to a little bit further south in here, guys, note how there's maybe a couple of supercells that could develop across southern Missouri, northern Arkansas, and then potentially into parts of western Kentucky and western Tennessee. That's where I'm a little bit more concerned about the tornado threat. This is by the time we work towards about midnight, 1 a.m. Note, again, we're into the overnight hours at this point. The damaging line of winds has moved across the state of Illinois, and by this time just now getting into western Indiana. What you start to notice is these storms beginning to weaken a little bit. Still, I think some embedded strong wind gusts, maybe severe wind gusts as we work towards 2 to 3 a.m. possible. But I do think that the worst of the wind is back here towards Missouri. St. Louis is probably a hot spot in particular in terms of damaging winds. Again, up to 70 to 80 mile per hour winds, I think possible with this line as it moves through. But I think that as it works across Indiana and central Kentucky, it's weakening. Can there be a couple of damaging wind gusts? That's possible, but I do think that the worst of it is further to the west. Now, as we continue to go throughout the overnight hours, you can see this will continue to weaken, but then the boundary kind of stalls out, and this will set the stage for the threat as we work into Saturday, which I'll touch on here again in a minute. But before we do that, guys, I do want to show you some of these wind gusts. I'm going to start actually down here across the southern plains, because this is where the winds with this storm system originate from. And we've got 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts possible with our jet stream in here across northern parts of Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas. We've got a major concern down here for fire danger, a major concern probably for dust storms, high wind watches and warnings in effect out here, guys. And so this is another part of the storm that's probably not getting enough attention. It's the wind. It's probably the fire danger. It's probably dust down here, guys. It's been pretty dry over the past several weeks in some of these areas. And so that is a big concern down here. 60 to 70 mile per hour winds for a 6-hour period is notable. That will cause some damage for sure. And then if we take a look here at how this evolves as it works towards the Ohio Valley, look how strong the winds are non-thunderstorm associated, guys, as we work into Friday evening. We're talking about 60 to locally 70 mile per hour winds out in Kansas. It does weaken a little bit as it pushes further to the east, but even without the storms, we're going to be dealing with some wind gusts of 35, 45 plus mile per hour as we work into Friday night, and likely as we work into Saturday as well. This is as we work into Saturday afternoon and into Saturday evening, guys. All these reds that you see, 40 to locally 50 mile per hour wind gusts, going to be a very, very windy day on Saturday, regardless of this severe weather potential. So again, guys, I want to kind of show this a little bit and highlight where the biggest threats are for specific modes of severe weather. And so, again, here's our moderate risk for tomorrow. If we turn on the Clarity platform here and look at the tornado risk, you all can see this hatched yellow area. This is where the highest risk for tornadoes are going to be. Now, in terms of stronger tornadoes, EF2 plus tornadoes, I really think that we're looking down here towards western Tennessee, northeast Arkansas, northern Mississippi and Alabama, perhaps western Kentucky and southeast Missouri. And the reason for that is because that's where some of the supercells could potentially be. Can there be tornadoes to the north? Yes. St. Louis, Springfield, Illinois. Whoa, too far. Southeast Iowa, guys. But I think that it's more embedded within the squall line rather than supercell storms, which is a key difference because the stronger tornadoes tend to happen in supercells. Now, don't get me wrong, don't let your guard down. Anywhere in here can have a tornado. It just means that the threat for maybe stronger and longer track tornadoes would be more down in the southern part of this risk area. Note how this gets less and less the further east that it goes. I personally think that this 5% risk, this brown color, could even be trimmed down back towards Terre Haute a little bit. Could you get something isolated in terms of a tornado towards central Indiana? I'm not going to 100% rule it out, but the instability is lacking as these storms arrive, and so it's not my biggest concern. We'll monitor it. Again, certainly worth having your notifications on for severe weather overnight Friday, but I do think the bigger tornado threat is more out to the west. I'm going to take a quick break here, guys, and try to answer some questions, and then I'll take a quick look at Saturday's threat. But I do want to answer some questions for you all because I'm sure folks have plans. Do we have any questions, Hope, that I can address right now?
Haven't had any yet from people, so.
All right. You all quiet today? No comments about my IU gear even?
No.
It's been a rough year for the Hoosiers. In terms of basketball, football was great. Let's see. Tiffany says, love BAM. Only forecast I trust. I appreciate that, Tiffany. Let's see here. How much rain for Indiana border by Kentucky and Ohio? We can turn that on. This is the Clarity platform again, guys. I can turn on the rainfall totals here, guys, over the next 7 days to get us through the event. And you can see, look at that. May not all happen with this one storm, but probably 2 to 3 inches, guys, because it's going to be some very, very heavy rain possible across southern Indiana, Kentucky, southern Ohio, as we work into Saturday, which I'll show here in a moment.
I had a question here about conditions for Indianapolis on Friday.
Yeah, so for Indy, there's one. For Indy, and I'm going to go here and I'll go look at the hour-by-hour forecast and see if we can show folks that here. Really, tomorrow, we can get off the winter focus. Tomorrow, guys, this is for Indy. The forecast really isn't that bad. It's going to be a pretty nice day. It's going to be breezy. We're going to have wind gusts, guys, as we get into the afternoon, probably 30 to 35 miles per hour. So it's going to be breezy, but throughout the day tomorrow, we're in pretty good shape, I would say. It's actually going to be a pretty nice day tomorrow for the most part. In terms of the storm timing for Indy, you're looking more at, if I go back here to our simulated radar, you're looking more at like 2 a.m. 2 a.m. in terms of storms arriving, give or take an hour. Here's a look at the line, guys. And so it's overnight on Friday. And I saw somebody ask about a derecho. I'm not forecasting a derecho. I'm not forecasting really notable severe weather in Indianapolis at this point. Can there be some? Yes, but I still think the biggest threats are this area in here. And it's just because the timing's overnight, and so we're losing some of our instability as we go the further into the evening.
I know that you might touch on this here in a moment, but people said that St. Patrick's Day plans and pub crawls for Saturday. How is that looking?
Ooh, so yeah, let's look at the simulated radar. I'm gonna pull that up. My biggest concern, honestly, for I assume central Indiana, Indiana in general, my biggest concern on Saturday is wind. Because it's going to be very windy. It's going to be like 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gust in a pretty widespread fashion. And so my concern is that regardless of the rain and storms, any structures could be blowing around. We're gonna have some issues with that. So let me get past Friday for this particular model. So we might have some kind of mist and drizzle hanging around as we work into your Saturday morning. And so not the best weather. Mist, drizzle, 40 mile per hour winds. Personally does not sound like a super fun time. And then it's as we work into the afternoon, 4 or 5 o'clock, guys, that the heavier rains from the south start to push up to the north, and we're working rain back in the area. Non-severe at this time. Could there be some stronger thunderstorms across Kentucky, southeast Indiana, southern Ohio? Perhaps. But in terms of central Indiana, it's probably just plain rain, maybe a couple of rumbles of thunder.
I've had a few questions about cloud cover for tonight for the total lunar.
Ooh, yeah, I think it should be pretty good tonight. Honestly, I've been so focused on this event that I have not really looked super carefully. But we can look at the Clarity platform real quick. Yeah, look at that. Overnight tonight, let me go back here. Look at that. So I think it's 3, right?
Yep, we're on 3.
Looks like cloud cover, 15 to 20% cloud cover tonight. So should be pretty good shape for that as we work into tonight. If you're gonna get up, again, it's what, 3 a.m.?
Yeah, I think it starts at like 1:15 and then it's full around 3.
I will cherish my my sleep tonight when I can. So guys, real quick, I'll keep going through the simulated radar as we work into the rest of the day. And actually, I'm gonna zoom back down a little bit further south so we can highlight, let me go back, so we can highlight here the severe threat down south. Because I know that it is spring break for some folks, and I want folks to be aware of the timing. This is a kind of a gnarly look here as we get into Saturday afternoon, 2, 3 o'clock. This will be pushing across the deep south. You can see some supercells down here. You know, I think especially from New Orleans up through Jackson, Mississippi, Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, maybe even as far east as Atlanta. This area especially is where we're going to be dealing with this bigger severe weather threat in terms of tornadoes. I'm more concerned about stronger tornadoes as we work into Saturday afternoon down here in this region than I am tomorrow. Now, doesn't mean that it's off the table tomorrow, but I think the environment is a little bit more conducive to a bigger tornado risk, with tomorrow being a bigger wind risk than Saturday. And so that's something to keep in mind. This is as we work towards about 8 o'clock. We've got storms firing all across the state of Alabama down to the panhandle of Florida. And then as we work towards 10, 11 o'clock, guys, we're still dealing with storms moving further off to the east. A rather impressive look still, I would say, of some strong to severe storms. Certainly could be dealing with some supercells and a couple of tornadoes before the line begins to evolve more of as a squall line. This is by the time we work into Sunday morning. Probably still some damaging wind risk out towards the East Coast as we get into Sunday. And so a busy couple of days here in terms of the severe weather potential. And here's a look, if I go back, here's a look at the Saturday, yes, the Saturday risk, guys, because You know, it's a multi-day. I think, Hope, I saw it was the first time that we've had a back-to-back moderate risk since last May.
I think it was 2023.
Oh, 2023.
No, it might have been last May.
Was it? I saw something about 22. Was it the first time maybe since March? I don't remember. It was the first day 2 moderate or day 3 moderate since March of 2022, I think is what it was. But the first back-to-back moderate risk that we've had since last May. And so we're looking at a good part of the country with tornado risk, a good part of the country with straight line wind risk. And again, I just want to continue to promote the safe digging, the 811 safe dig. I want to be sure that, you know, if you suspect that there's a gas leak, we're going to have down power lines, we're going to have potential damage to property. Just be sure that you're being smart, you're being safe. If you suspect a gas leak, leave the area, call your local gas company right away from a safe location. That's obviously something that when generators get going and whatnot too, if power's out, that we need to keep in mind. And don't approach any down power lines. Be sure that if you're in these areas that are going to have the damaging wind risk, that you are calling the power line directly as we continue to promote the safety aspect just before and after the storm. Before the storm, stay safe with clarity. After the storm, again, keep in mind the 811 dig to be sure that you're digging safely on your property. So appreciate working with them on that promotion as we go throughout this spring. I think that this, guys, by the way, I think that this will probably be one of numerous severe weather events that we're going to deal with over the next couple of months. The pattern looks very, very busy. It's very similar to 2011, which was one of the most active severe weather seasons on record. Not saying it's a repeat of that, but I do think that there are enough similarities to be concerned that we're going to see repeat severe weather events as we go over the next couple of months. So are the winds hitting Friday, Saturday morning? So again, assuming for Indiana here, guys, I believe that we're going to be seeing the main line work through overnight Friday, and then stronger wind gusts persisting as we go into Saturday, 35, 45, up to 50 mile per hour wind gusts, non-thunderstorm related as we go into Saturday. Should I open my basement door now? I don't know what that means exactly, but I don't think you need to worry that much about it. About an hour north of Little Rock, Arkansas. So let me go back, guys, to the Clarity platform, and I'm going to go over here to our severe weather risk map, because your biggest risk is going to be wind and tornado threats as we get into tomorrow. And so you are probably kind of on the western side of where the storms actually initialize. So here's our wind threat. You can see that certainly a couple of strong to severe wind gusts possible. Here's a look at the tornado risk, guys. Just north of Little Rock, I think the tornado risk is a little bit bigger down here, especially if you're north and east of Little Rock. This is where some of the supercells may be able to develop as we work into late tomorrow afternoon and evening. And where those supercells develop, that's where a couple of those stronger tornadoes could be. And so I would say east of Little Rock especially is where I would be most concerned with right now. You're kind of, Little Rock is right on the line in terms of where the storms initialize, because they can initialize literally right over you or just to your east. And so very, very, very close call for Little Rock. I'd be watching the forecast very carefully right now. Hope, anything good?
Maybe just mentioning when you think storms will start to fire off. Some questions about if they're traveling Friday, if they should be worried in the afternoon, evening, or if it's just overnight threat.
Yeah, in terms of Indiana, guys, it's an overnight threat. So just to answer that question all at once, if you're in Indiana, the severe weather threat, and while I don't think it's a major threat, the severe weather threat will be overnight on Friday. I'll throw this on in terms of timing, just to get kind of a wide picture. So this is as we get towards 4 or 5 o'clock on Friday. You can see here at this point, guys, we've got the line of storms moving through Iowa and Missouri, a couple of storms down in Arkansas as well. And then this is as we work towards 10, 11, midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. or so, to give you an idea of how this is going to be moving across. So for Illinois, your timing is kind of like Central Time, 7 to, let's say, midnight from west to east. And then for Indiana, you're kind of that midnight to 3 or 4 a.m. time frame. But note how it breaks up with time. So, if you're traveling throughout the day on Friday, you have flights, trying to plan, I really think that you're okay unless you're out here in Missouri or in parts of Iowa, maybe northern Arkansas. All right. Well, guys, with that in mind, we'll probably do another live stream tomorrow to highlight things. Really appreciate you all tuning in. Be sure, guys, if you're a business or you know somebody that is a business that needs to stay prepared for severe weather, whether they're managing the safety of employees or maybe students and faculty, or whether they're trying to plan and manage an event, scan the QR code up in the top right or go to bamwx.com/get-started. You can get a 14-day free trial. Again, this is intended for businesses, high-cost decision makers, schools and universities trying to manage the safety for students, faculties, employees, whatever the case may be. We're consulting directly with these types of businesses to help them through the storm. And so businesses, professionals, those are the type of people that will want to try out this trial, 14 days for free, no credit card required. Scan the QR code, click the link that Hope just put in there. I would highly recommend it. We want to help people manage the safety and the preparedness for their organizations. And so, guys, that's all that I have for today. I will end here with this map just to give you an idea for tomorrow. Again, be sure to practice safe digging. If you have damage in your yard or on your property, be sure to know where your gas lines are. Call 811 dig before you do any work to make sure that you stay safe. And guys, everybody stay safe tomorrow. Enjoy the nice weather today. Enjoy some pre-March Madness in the Big Ten tournament. I hope your team does better than mine. And with that, have a great rest of your